The Pacers end of this, I think this was more of a no-brainer from them, even if you didn't think that Sabonis was the most likely core player to go. If they were able to get the value that they did from him, which is, I know Buddy Hield makes a lot of money over the next few years, but if you're going to overpay for something, overpay for functional shooting. I think on this season he is. What does he shoot? He's in the he's above average when he's shooting coming around screens. I think he's in like the 60 something percentile. And so he gives you reliable errors. It's just functional shooting. He can take some off the dribble in transition. And then, of course, just like really down them off the catch. So that seemed like that didn't seem like an egregious take on for them. And now you have Haliburton, who just fits so seamlessly to the point that maybe you don't move Myles Turner now. Maybe you don't even move Malcolm Brogdon. I know people have talked about you have Chris Duarte. Is it a matter of just getting a little bit younger, even though Brogdon and Brogdon is sort of like aged out of that rebuild type thing? We probably forget how young Turner is. He, like Sabonis, is only 25. The Pacers have now set themselves up to maybe have a top 5 pick this season. And then you just go into the offseason and next year, you can keep this roster intact. Maybe bring back TJ Warren. Should he be healthy? He's going to be a free agent. And you just have a ton of talent to where maybe you can make some noise in the East. They have that extra first round pick from Cleveland, not to mention a pick in the 30s now from the Rockets by way of Cleveland. There are a lot of different ways they could play this. They could also continue the full-on rebuild. Yes, you move Brogdon over the summer. He can't be over the offseason. He can't be traded now because of the extension that he signed. Maybe move Turner at that point. I ultimately think that this move is a blow to Myles Turner suitors just because he was injured to begin with. And so unless the Pacers were going to settle, I don't know that they would have moved him anyway. But also, he is the primary center. Woj said he's excited to be that now. So he comes back from his foot injury this season. I'm really hoping to get to see him play with Tyrese Haliburton. And there's just so much spacing on this roster now where in Myles Turner lineups anyway, where that could have always been the case, but now you're not playing with Sabonis, who is not as much of a 3-point threat when you're having him fan out to the corner or whatever he's doing when he's not on the ball. Him and Turner wanting to occupy the same spaces, even though that Turner cannot do like what Domantas Sabonis can do with the ball in his hands. Things just get a lot clearer in Indy. And I would phrase it this way. When you view this on top of the 2 top 35 picks they got for Caris LeVert, the choice of how they want to play this, sort of a 1-year tank and then go right back to competing like they've traditionally done under Herb Simon, minus the 1-year tank, of course. Or if you want to go the longer term route, the choice is Indiana's, and I just don't know that there's a wrong answer at this point for them. And just to illustrate how good Tyrese Haliburton is off the dribble, he's shooting 40.1% on off the bounce threes. Among everyone who's attempted at least 100 of those shots, only Mike Conley is knocking them down at a higher clip. 43.5%, by the way. That's fucking incredible for someone at his age. He's been low-key monsters. Maybe not low-key, but he's been a monster this season. And look, maybe Indiana's not done. The question that we have from Strops in our Discord, what can the Pacers flip Buddy Hield for? Anything? I'm going to die on this hill and say that, yeah, they could get stuff for Buddy Hield. I know that his contract is on the larger side. He's in the middle of an extension that guaranteed him $94 million. But it's like I said before, overpay, I'm yawning, for shooting if you overpay for anything. He's downing more than 39% of his spot up threes, 38+% on pull up threes, and he's going to consistently torture defenses coming around screens. I don't mind Indiana keeping him. They're probably reticent to play a lot of minutes with Duarte or Hield at the 3. You put either one of those guys though next to Brogdon and Haliburton, and you just have such a dynamic offense, assuming that Myles Turner's on the floor. I almost don't care who you're playing at the 4, although it would be interesting to see TJ Warren in that situation. There could be suitors for him though. Does a Memphis, if Indiana's willing to accept just like expiring contracts and no first round compensation, if the Pacers are still sort of interested in being ultra flexible with cap space over the summer, I think Memphis could use someone like him as they gear up for the playoff run, where they're making sort of the Kings play, but it's less drastic. You're not going all in, but you're taking a bigger swing Yeah, it's not the Kings play whatsoever. It's the Pelicans play, excuse me. Without giving up any core assets, you're trying to make a significant or semi-significant addition. I think a team like Oklahoma City, I know that they're in the throes of not the throes, it's a designed rebuild, but they really need shooting, and he's not going to go ruin a tank. He just opens the floor for everybody else and allows their ball handlers to do more stuff. When you look at Josh Giddey or Trey Mann, even like Darius Baisley and Poku. So like those are teams over. I'm just always going to say that you should be willing to take on functional shooting. It's why I don't think Duncan Robinson's trade value is plummeted. He's on the come up, of course, but like these players sign these deals. Even Adavis Bertans, I do think he's more overvalued than not, but like Washington also isn't playing him a ton of minutes because their roster isn't built for it. They can't handle his defensive transgressions, and they're just sort of like clunky at the 4 and the 5. Just so many different options from which to choose. But like those deals, because these players can shoot from ultra deep range, but of course they can shoot coming around screens. In Buddy Hield's case, they can do a little bit of off the dribble shooting. They have value, and so look at teams that could really stand to juice up their offense. I suggested this, and they want to duck the tax. And they're very close to doing so. So maybe they wouldn't look at a Buddy Hield, but is there something to be worked out with Boston here? They're a team that the offense is perked up while the defense has suffered, but they're still 18th on the year and they're below mediocre when it comes to 3-point shooting. A lot of that has to do with the level of difficulty on their looks, where it's, a Jason Tatum taking a lot of your threes and you're not stocked with knockdown shooters. Buddy Hield sort of gives you that element. And so could there be a team like that interested in him? Yes, absolutely. And I would, if you told me the over under on the number of teams that are willing to acquire Buddy Hield without demanding the Pacers give them an asset and while sending something back, whether it's expiring contracts as the value or just low end draft equity or just sort of a distressed prospect, let's set the over under at 4.5. And I think I would take the over on that. I might even go as high as 5.5. So the shooting is always going to have a spot in the NBA. And it doesn't concern me that the Pacers took on his deal. Some people might look at this and say you normally get some draft equity as part of a trade for a 2-time All-Star who's also only 25. Those guys do not crop up on the market that often. That being said, you also don't get a guy like Haliburton that often, just not even 2 years into his rookie contract and already showing so much, not just promise, but real impact. He's already making the team that he was on a better player in just so many comprehensive modes. And maybe you could quibble that, okay, but the Pacers are still rolling the dice and they are taking on Buddy Hield, who is maybe on a net negative contract. They gave up Justin Holiday, who isn't nothing to their rotation. Halliburton is that good and that high end of a prospect. I would say he's worth like 2.5 first round picks / prospects on his own, because having entrenched performers means that much, and especially to a team like the Pacers. So I liked this deal for them unequivocally. I don't hate it for the Kings, or I'm at least open-minded to it, but I'm still on the more confused, skeptical end